Greetings, wrestling fans, and I am back once again, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a bit of a separate review once again. This time it's going to be with TNA Rebellion, and I know a lot of people are probably surprised that I'm reviewing a TNA show. Well, don't be surprised, because I did review Sacrifice. If you haven't seen that review, be sure to check that out. So this isn't the first time I actually have reviewed a TNA show. I actually have reviewed a few before. The reason why I am reviewing this one is mainly due to the fact that somebody signed a contract with TNA, and I know a lot of people want to hear my thoughts on that. But also, I was intrigued with some of the matches on the card. Not all of them, so I just decided to watch the ones I wanted to watch. But I will go over the entire show. There were 2 matches that took place on the pre-show. The Fatal Influence, yes, NXT's Fatal Influence of Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Knox would defeat Rosemary, Zaya Brookside, and Lei Ling Lee, formerly known as Zaya Lee. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, I don't really... Look, I know there are going to be some people that like this partnership, and there's going to be some people that don't like this partnership, but... I don't know, man. I just think... I'll get into more about what I want to say about the women's division as I go along. Elijah had an open challenge, formerly known as Elias. He took on Shane Haste, who was formerly known as Shane Thorne. Man, the career that Shane Thorne could have had, man. The career he could have had in WWE, man. He is a major thing, man. He was just a major guy that could have done something. Like, he and Nick Miller should have been NXT Tag Team Champions. They could have been a staple tag team on the main roster if Nick Miller didn't want to go back to Australia. But man, oh man, he could have been something. He really could have. He really could have been something if they just gave this guy a fair chance. But unfortunately, he's always going to be remembered as a glorified jobber and a glorified loser who went under the name Slapjack. Which is a really darn shame. But now it's time for the first match on the actual card this time. Moose defends the X Division Championship in the Ultimate X match against Casey Nevro, Leon Slater, Matt Cardona, El Higo del Vikingo. I think this is the guy. I think this was the same guy I saw at WrestleMania. I think this Vikingo guy was the same guy I saw at WrestleMania, the one that punched El Grande Americano, aka Chad Gable under a mask, and Sidney Akeem, formerly known as Reggie. Yes, one of the big... Yes, Reggie. I find it wild that TNA signed this guy. Like, I've never really been his biggest fan. But I found it incredibly wild that TNA would spend some money on him. But Moose would ultimately win here. Those Ultimate X matches do look pretty good. So, no complaints there. So, next up we have the Elegance brand, or Team Elegance, whatever they get called. I mean, like, you kind of hear different names between them. I'm just going to call them the Elegance brand, because I think that name actually sounds good. Ash and Heather took on the Meta Girls, Jakar Jackson and Lash Legend, Spitfire, Danny Luna and Jordy Threat, and Chemical X, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. And once again, as I mentioned already, I know some people like this partnership, and there are going to be people that don't like this partnership. And this is the thing, I want people to understand that not everybody is going to be a fan of this partnership. I've seen some people, there have been a few people I've watched don't like this partnership and they don't see it benefiting TNA at all, while there are people out there that just love the partnership just because it's happening. Like, oh, we all should just be happy this partnership's happening in the first place or whatever. But you gotta understand, like, when you're forming a partnership you gotta help each other. Like, has TNA really helped WWE? And has WWE really been helping TNA? The only thing that TNA has really been doing is just been giving TNA a lot of their lower tier, talent from NXT. Like, yeah, they gave them Cora Jade. Fallon Henley's a former North American Women's Champion. JC Jane's somewhat of a decent name. Somewhat of a big name. Yes, they finally got Ethan Page. Finally someone big. But then you got Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, who are not really all that great. I'm not a fan of them. Gigi and Tatum, I think they are a great team. I think they have potential. But again, you're just basically having that... Basically, Gigi and Tatum just had a title shot for the women's tag team titles in WWE on NXT. And now here they are on TNA, competing for their tag team titles. It's almost like, again, I just don't think there's really going to be any kind of benefit from this whole partnership, in my personal opinion. You can like this partnership if you want, but personally, the biggest thing that's hurting TNA right now is their women's division. I looked at their roster, not counting all the NXT people that they keep bringing in. Their roster isn't that great. Their roster's not that massive, and I hate to say, and I hate saying this, but Tessa Blanchard is the only real big name they have. Outside of Masha Slamovich as well. Like, they're the only two real big names. Yes, Steph Delander's there as well, but she's not entirely someone who is putting butts in seats, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's the biggest problem right now with TNA and their women's division, or their knockouts division, I should say. They just don't have a lot of stars, and this is why I get annoyed when WWE just want to swoop on everyone, like Mariah May, Stephanie Vakir, Julia. Like, they just want to swipe in on everyone. Like, yep, you come with us, you're coming with us, you're coming with us. Like, this is why I want to see companies like TNA at least get some good names. And you see why TNA's women's division is struggling, because WWE just want to take all the big names, take all the big stars, because they're the company that everyone needs to go to. AEW's no different. They've been signing a lot of girls as well recently. I'm not putting AEW off the hook, but AEW just have a massive roster, and they have more people that are interesting, while TNA has Tessa Blanchard, Masha Slamovich, and possibly a few other girls. There's just not a lot of girls for me to really like on TNA. I mean, I like Xia Brookside. Masha's alright. Dani Luna, I only know her because she was a part of WWE briefly. And obviously I like Ash by Elegance and Heather, but still, like, that, it's just not a lot of people. It's just not a lot. And I think that's the biggest problem right now with TNA's Knockouts division. They just do not have enough women. And even with the new recent signing they got, which I will get to, I don't think she's really going to boost their morale either. When it comes to... I don't really think she's going to be boosting their morale all that much either. So the Elegance brand won. The Elegance brand would win and retain their TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles. Makes sense, it's their first defense. Makes sense, it makes sense, it's their first defense. You can't have them lose immediately. Ace Austin. I almost said Austin Aries for some reason. I think I was either going to say Austin Aries or Austin Theory, because I saw the name Austin. Ace Austin and the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wetz, with X-Pac. Yes, Sean Waltman. Yes, X-Pac. That guy. They would go on to defeat the System of Brian Miles, Eddie Slapnut Edwards, and Moose. Why is Moose wrestling twice? Okay, Moose is wrestling twice. Moose decided to pull some double duty alongside, and they had Alicia Edwards. They had Alicia Edwards, who, by the way, is another female who I don't think really all that much wrestles. And apparently they had Alicia Fox in the crowd. Not at Rebellion, but I heard on a TNA episode that Alicia Fox, the one that was with WWE for 10 years, that only achieved one Divas title reign that no one remembers. Please, TNA, don't waste your money on her. Don't waste your money on her. Actually, waste your money on good people. But, yeah. There's that one. TNA introduced a brand new title called the TNA International Championship, which is fine. They needed a mid-card belt, I guess. I guess they didn't really have a mid-card belt, but hey, now they do. The first champion, Steve Macklin, formerly known as Steve Cutler, defeated Eric Young, who I swear I thought I saw on Friday on SmackDown, because Tommaso Ciampa has completely shaved his beard, completely clean off. Tommaso Ciampa just has a clean shaved face, and I swear to God, I almost thought he looked like Eric Young. Mike Santana would go on to defeat Mustafa Ali in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Very, very enjoyable. I always enjoy Mustafa Ali, man. Mustafa Ali, he's great, man. He is great. And it's a darn shame. It's a real damn shame that WWE mishandled him, man. He could have been a star. But WWE, unfortunately, fumbled Mustafa Ali. Right, before we talk about the next match, one of the matches I was mainly paying attention to the most, let's talk about it. Former WWE wrestler and current Renegade of Wrestling Women's Champion, Indi Hartwell, has now signed a full-time contract with TNA, and she's now part of the TNA roster. This is the thing I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been wanting to hear my opinion on. I'm 50-50 on this. I truly am. The only reason I am more leaning towards being negative about it is because I just don't see Indi doing much. Like, the only thing I could, unless they want to do the Naomi thing with her, as in, come in and win the title pretty much quickly, because that's what Naomi did when she went to TNA. Unless they do that, I don't see what she could really do. Again, with the small amount of people I just talked about, the small roster they have, what can you realistically do with Indi? To me, the only big storyline that I could really see them doing is her and Steph DeLanda. To me, Steph DeLanda is one of the only big people I could realistically see Indi Hartwell feuding with. If she's a babyface, of course. Yes, I know she could wrestle Masha Slamovich, and I know some people say she could wrestle Tessa Blanchard, and I say no. I say no to that first off. But again, that's probably gonna happen. That's probably gonna happen because she's working there. And the other reason is what I just mentioned before. The ever-abundant amount of NXT people. There's just so many NXT people, former WWE people, people who she used to work with, appearing in TNA. Who's to say Shawn Michaels wants the impressive future TNA Knockouts Women's Champion to appear on NXT? Who's to say that? If Indi Hartwell does beat Masha, who's to say they would have her turn up on NXT to confront Stephanie Vaquer? Like what they did with Joe Hendry. They did that with Joe Hendry. They just did that with Joe Hendry on NXT. This is one of the biggest reasons why I didn't want her in TNA. Mainly because I didn't want her to be, again, in the same banner as WWE. Because to me, TNA just feels like a WWE 2.0 product because of the partnership they have with WWE. And I know WWE are probably going to try and swoop in on Indy Hartwell again when they see her succeeding. When they see her being successful, WWE is going to keep an eye on this, and they're going to be like, right, let's sign her back. We saw how successful she was. Now we can sign her back, and then they will try to build her up and try to take her seriously. Now, yes, Indy Hartwell has never said anything bad about WWE, and yes, she did say she does hope to go back there one day. But I just don't want her to go back now. I don't want her to go back not until like 3-4 years, until she's done as much as she can. In my opinion, she had way more better chances and way more bigger matches in AEW, like your Jamie Hayter, Anna Jay, Megan Bayne, Toni Storm, Mercedes. Like, she could run it back with Mercedes, Ty Mello, Athena, Penelope Ford, and there's just so many people. Serena Deeb. There was just so many more people that Indy could have possibly wrestled with in AEW than compared to TNA. Like, you've got, as I said, Steph DeLander, Tessa Blanchard, Masha Slamovich. You're gonna have her wrestle Rosemary? No, that doesn't really interest me. Xia Li? I've already seen that in WWE. Yeah, Xia Brookside sounds interesting, but Ash by Elegance? You really want to see her wrestle Dana Brooke? I mean, to me, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me if they wrestled. But that's the biggest problem. TNA just does not have a massive roster for Indy Hartwell to really sink her teeth into. Well, she's there. She has signed there. All I hope is that they treat her like a star. All I hope is they treat her like a star. And the other thing is, again, the only thing that I'm accepting is if they do the same thing they did with Naomi. Have her walk in and win the title. Other than that, I don't really see what else you could really do with her. That's the biggest problem. I know some people are going to say, well, she could always reunite with Steph DeLander, win the tag team titles. Again, yes, that would be fine. Sure, I'd be fine down for that. But again, I just don't see Indy staying in TNA very long. There's just really nothing for her in TNA. I just don't really see, outside of her being the Knockouts World Champion and potentially Tag Team Champion with Steph DeLander or whoever else they pair her with, I just cannot see anything else she could potentially do outside of winning those belts. That is my fullest opinion on Indy Hartwell joining TNA. Now, weirdly enough, there's one more thing I want to mention. Weirdly enough, Indy Hartwell did tag up with Tessa Blanchard once. Now, some of you may be thinking, wait, what? When did that ever happen? Apparently, it happened at a show called Rise. I've never heard of it. But according to Google, that they formed at some kind of indie promotion, and they were called the Undeniably Impressive. I mean, sure, that sounds like a good name, but can you imagine that Indy Hartwell and Tessa Blanchard together as a tag team, and they win the tag team titles? Like, would people really want to see that? But again, I just wanted to mention that. And there's also I've seen a lot of pictures with Indy Hartwell with Tessa Blanchard. So who's to say they're probably friends? And if they are, it's no skin off my nose. I don't really care if Indy is friends with her or not. But it wouldn't surprise me if Tessa Blanchard probably wanted someone to work with. You know, someone she can trust. Because we all know Tessa Blanchard is pretty much the most unlikable person backstage, and not many people really like working with her. And yes, I know everyone stays professional and all that. Even if you have a total dislike for someone, you stay professional. But again, I'm just saying it wouldn't be an outright surprise if that was actually the case. I'm not saying it is, but that's just my assumption. Speaking of Tessa, the impressor, which is what someone tried to say, which was very much of a bad joke. Tessa Blanchard took on Masha Slamovich. And Masha got the win. Good. That's really all I can really say. Yes, this was the match I was putting all my attention towards too, because I wanted to see if TNA were going to make the stupid decision to have Tessa Blanchard win the title. And no, they did not. They had Masha retain, and they had Masha retain in the most satisfying way possible, and that is making Tessa Blanchard tap out. There is nothing more humiliating than watching someone tap out. It was so satisfying to watch. And now I'm not going to be surprised if Indy comes out, says she wants a shot at the Knockouts title, Tessa comes out, and the two of them start bickering. I will not be surprised if that happens. I'm not going to be surprised if that indeed happens. The Hardy Boys take on the Namath Brothers of Nick and Ryan for the tag team titles. We get a title change. The Namath Brothers, Nick and Ryan, become the new TNA World Tag Team Champions. I actually am okay with this. I'm actually okay with this, and yeah, it's a good way to really it's a good way to capitalize on Nick Namath's heel turn that recently happened. And yes, I do pay. And yes, despite the fact that I don't do all wrestling reviews every week, I do watch and pay attention to the shows. Again, I only do all wrestling reviews unless the things I am watching interest me. So, but at the same time, I'm kind of turning it into its own review series anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. So, yeah, I think that's a good way to capitalize off Nick Namath's heel turn. Ryan Namath was already a heel anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. And the main event was All Ego, NXT's Ethan Page and Frankie Kazarian taking on Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry would ultimately retain by defeating Frankie Kazarian and Ethan Page. The one thing I do not want to see is a possible NXT wrestler with a TNA title and vice versa. I know for some weird reason people want to see it. I personally don't. I personally really don't. Because then it will just cause problems. It will just cause problems within the partnerships, in my opinion. So, Joe Hendry retains, and then Trick Williams would attack Joe Hendry. Ooh, sounds like little Tricky Boy maybe going down the path of a heel turn, it sounds like. So yeah, that is all that happened on TNA Rebellion. It was a fine show for what it was. It was a fine show. I actually enjoyed majority of the matches, and yeah, it's really all I've got. There you go, guys. You got my opinion on Indy Hartwell joining TNA. So thank you for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe, and see you all next time.